Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got for you one of my how to play and set up videos, but today we're doing the T110E5. I was just gonna, as per pretty much always on these videos, was just gonna do a standard, oh here's an Ace Tanker gameplay, enjoy yourself, but I thought, nah, I'm going to do more than that. So, we are on, I'm not on the right mode, we are on Pilsen. I don't know how my HE shell has not completely broken the door, that's really upsetting. Fortunately for me, somebody else broke the door, and unfortunately for me, I bounced off a Jagdpanzer 100. But yeah, today we're going to be doing one of my how to play and setups, and we're going to be doing the E5, and that's because, same as last time I did one of these with the IS-7, I've just literally 3-marked this tank. You can see on the mark mod on the bottom left hand corner, my mark mod actually says 95.01. I wasn't at 95 during this game. I think I was at like 93 point something, and it ended up going up to 94.5 or something like that. So I was still like playing quite a lot, and I usually try and do these videos around when I have been marking a tank or something like that, because I've just literally probably played, I think, maybe 100 games of the E5, possibly. So maybe not quite that many, but quite a few games of the E5. So I feel like I'm a bit more well equipped to be able to actually talk about, you know, how to play it and set it up, considering I've just played that many games. So, one of the things about the E5, obviously most people are going to compare it to the Super Kong. It just is a thing. And in my experience over the last couple of hundred games of playing this thing, it does actually differ to the Super Kong in quite a lot of ways. The guns are fairly similar these days. The DPM of the E5. Sorry, I'm on my other monitor here so I can get the stats right, so I'm not lying to you all. The E5 has slightly worse DPM, but when I say slightly, I really do mean slightly. It's like 50 less DPM base, which is, you know, not a huge difference. Aim time of 2 seconds, both the same. Dispersion 0.35 is slightly worse, so it's, I'm not going to say a little bit more derpy, because obviously it's not like derpy, but 0.35 compared to 0.33, especially obviously after you get like equipment and stuff. I did find that the E5, I was struggling quite a lot with accuracy when I first got the tank, when I was kind of like dialing it in. But I've pretty much, on my setup, I've pretty much gone for full gun handling, pretty much. And you're going to see the base accuracy is down at, I think, about 0.3, which is very good, but it's not insane. But for me, it's the gun handling. Like, you can see when I'm moving and stuff, there are little bits of replay bugs here, but you can see how small the aim circle stays. It's ridiculous. Like, the amount of shots, I don't actually think I hit very many this game in particular, but the amount of shots that I hit whilst moving in this tank, because of how small the aim circle stays and how quick you can snapshot and everything. This was actually a really poor peak here. Take one from the 780 and don't even put one in return because I'm stupid. But anyway, other than that, how else do you play the E5? I kind of prefer to play the E5. You see me here, I'm not pushed right up. At the start of the game, I came to the middle to try and get cross shots, and then I'm not actually completely pushed up into like the heavy tank engagement. You can do it, and you can play this thing as like a full frontal heavy, but you really, I find that if you want to play like that, play the S-Conk. You're gonna struggle a lot more in this tank for one very, 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 very big reason. This thing. Your cupola is so prominent on the top of your tank that the amount of times when you get within like 100 meters of enemy tank, they will hit it every time. 100% they will hit it pretty much every time, and you're just gonna get frustrated. Well, I say you'll get frustrated. I get frustrated because I'm getting hit in the cupola like 5-6 times for every shell. Well, not 5-6 times for every shell, but like once or twice for every shell I'm putting in. And you haven't got the HP. Like, this tank hasn't got the most HP. I don't actually run hardening on this tank on my primary setup. I have got a secondary setup that's got hardening on. And I was using that whilst I was marking it. I was using that for, like, if I got Entsk or something. Because on this tank, I'm running, I'll obviously go through it properly at the end, but I'm running Turbo, I'm running Vert Stabs, and I'm also running a Gun Rammer. But the Turbo is definitely handy. And like I was saying, that's kind of how I play this tank. I play it more, oh, I didn't mean to pause the replay there. I play it more as like a second line, or like a halfway between the front line and the support tank. So I kind of play it, move around. You see me here just kind of mopping up, getting into positions that I need to be getting into, and using the better mobility that this tank has over the S-Conk. It is a couple of kilometers an hour quicker than the S-Conk in straight line speed. But it has much better horsepower per ton ratio. So with a Bounty Turbo as well, that boosts up the top speeds. You can play this thing a bit more mobile than an S-Conk. Obviously, it's not quite like a Chief, but you're kind of getting more that way. The trouble is you can't play exactly like a Chief because you haven't got that, like, massively tanky turret. You have got that huge cupola on top. Now, I'd like to address something here. If we take a little ganders at the minimap, enemy EBR has just been spotted here. There is an object 430 and an object 277 sat over here. RRT, for me right now, is relatively safe, as I'm going for RRT. The reason I say this is because, basically, RRT calls me a fucking idiot for abandoning him and leaving them to die by themselves. And I'm like, well, firstly, move. You can see this flank's falling. You should be moving up right now. And secondly, tough. I started going for enemy RT before our 277 and 430 died, and then he starts bitching in chat that I've lost the game and everything. And I may or may not have sent him after the game a nice, very informative message saying that in fact I did not lose the game, I did in fact win us the game, and he should shut the fuck up. But we won't worry about that. Anyway, you can use your mobility of the E5 to move around, which is, like I say, what I like doing. And I like putting the fact that, yes, you haven't got the most HP and the best armor because of the cupola, because your lower plate, your side, pretty weak. But use this against, like, mediums and stuff. Your DPM is up there. There you go, I'm being called a fucking bot. Your DPM is up there. And you have got more hit points and armor than the majority of medium tanks. So you can use that to your advantage. Move around the map. I would like to also clarify, this is one hell of a fucking shot. I don't care if I say so myself. Boom. Also, probably actually a game-winning shot as well, because an EBR running around in this endgame situation really wouldn't be good. So, if we just focus on the replay for a second, we've got me and our badge left alive. I'm actually on a decent bit of health. Our GW100 is still bitching that we've lost the game. Always good. And I'm not going to lie to you, chat. I was kind of at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't want to separate too far away from the Badger. I'm going to pause the replay here a second. I don't want to move too far away from the Badger. But other than that, I don't actually really know what I want to do. So I'm kind of thinking, well, if I sit either behind the Rex here, or maybe even move out back behind the rubble pile, and then kind of see, because then I've got line of sight if they're coming this way, I've got line of sight if they're coming this way, and kind of see what's happening. I don't want to go too far away from the cap, because obviously that is an issue. If they kill the Badger and I'm like all the way over here, and then start triple capping, I'm not going to get back in time. And also, I kind of want to keep my Badger alive, because the 3v2 is much better situation than the 3v1. Unfortunately, none of that really matters, because I drove out and 2 tanks appeared, so hey-ho. Put one into the grill, using our AP rounds to the grill, because we have actually run out of our heat rounds near enough, and that was because we were engaging a mouse quite a lot. We fire at the grill again, and I unfortunately ding off the upper plate of the 430U. I've now loaded the heat. I know with my 340 heat, I can go through the upper plate of the 430U unless it's angled back. That is a really nice thing about the E5, which, when you have to play at slightly longer ranges, is really quite nice. You have got 340 heat pen that you can just absolutely annihilate through most tanks and arm plates in the game. Again, put one into the 430U, and now I'm trying to save my Badger friend. I get that the 430U is going to do damage to me. I go to move in to kill the grill. Don't need to. Badger does. I know that I reload before the 430, so finish him off. And now we are in a 2 versus 1 against the FV. We know the FV is right there. He gets spotted by the Badger. I'm kind of nervous, but I know I can most of the time probably take a round from him. We put one in, and he fires pretty clutch at the truck. Put 2 HE rounds in, and the Badger finishes him off. I quite honestly, I think the FV there was hoping, because he knew that both of us were pretty close, and we've both got good DPM. So yes, he probably kills one of us if he hits, but he has to try and kill me because he could potentially run away from the Badger with the amount of HP he had, and then come back again. But yeah, and you can see the GW. It's kind of ironic that we've just won the game with him saying that. Interesting. Anyway, but yeah, finish him off. The HE on this tank isn't amazing. It's not as good as the British HE. I think the S-Conk is like 100mm a pen. The Chieftain's like 140 pen, I think, on the HE. Something stupid like that. This thing's only 60, but still against like 4005. It's not too shabby. But yeah, like I say, you don't want to be in a full frontal engagement when you're playing in the E5, in my opinion. Obviously, if you're top tier, you can kind of use HP and DPM to win those kind of engagements. But like, so many people pen the cupola. If you are trying to just play hull down or whatever, when your hull down, it is slightly better because your cupola is smaller, but people still hit it so often. So you kind of want to just play more as a support tank, in my opinion. Probably people will go, oh my god, you're wrong, Max, blah, blah, blah. But there are so many things these days that have, like, no cupolas, like, or very hard to hit cupolas. This thing's just, there are so many other strengths to it. The accuracy is pretty decent. The DPM is decent. The gun handling, like I said, is insane. So you can snap shots in from a bit of range. You have only got 8 degrees gun depression, not 10 degrees. So you're not quite as good in this as the S-Conk in that regard. Everything about this tank, when you compare it to the S-Conk, pretty much makes you want to play it, or makes the way you should play it. That's definitely not how you say that, but besides the point. At slightly longer ranges. I'm not saying snipe. I'm not saying play it at the back of the map. Definitely not. But it's like, when my team were being shot at here, I was playing behind this rubble. It just gives me good angles to keep them covered. And you can still put in the DPM. The mouse could do nothing against me, because if he stops to try and aim at my cupola, I put one in, I wiggle, I move. He's going to struggle to hit my cupola from that range. And by the time he's thought about it, I've put another 2 shots in because my DPM's so good. But if I was to play right up against him, he could probably try and trade 2 for 1, because he could definitely hit my cupola every time. So, hey-ho, there we go. That was an ace tanker, guys. I don't think I hit anything blind. It was 7,500 damage. 4 kills as well, so ace tanker, which is very, very nice. High caliber, and I think that was pretty much everything. So I'm not going to go post-game stats, because you don't really need to see them. But we will jump into the garage, and I will run through equipment, field mods, and like my general setup, so you guys get a good idea of how to set this tank up. Lovely. Right, so let's jump into my setup really quickly, guys. You pretty much want a basic heavy tank crew on the E5, repairs, all of your good stuff. Smooth ride, snapshot, stuff like that, all gonna help with gun handling. And something 100% that you want, that I completely underestimated how good it is intuition on this tank. Because obviously with the intuition reload, it's only about 1.5 seconds, just because of how quick your base reload time is. And because you're a AP heat tank, you genuinely need to be swapping between the rounds quite a lot. Like, the amount of times I was shooting at like the side of an E100 who had his turret face towards me, or well angled, and you need AP to go through his tracks. If you fire heat, it's just most of the time not going to go through or get absorbed. And then, oh shit, I need to fire at the front of a 277, switch back to heat. FE pops up, switch to HE. Like, so important. And I probably would still be trying to 3 mark it if it wasn't for intuition and being able to swap shells over as quickly. So equipment, that's what I was going for. I could not think what I was trying to say there. What I had set up during the during my marking was I had the vert stab directive, mainly for me personally, just because I've got like 400, quite honestly, and yeah, I've got so many of these things because with the directives when they first came out, I was like, oh shit, I need to save them because you know you never know when I'm gonna need them for like Clown Wars or whatever, and obviously they're very expensive to buy. They're like however many bonds to buy, and that's like quite a lot per game. And then now I'm sat here with like 850 gun rammer directives. Like, okay, I should probably start using these now. So you don't have to use it, but the vert stabs directive, the stabilization is really good anyway. I was using a bounty rammer. When I mark things, I have a bounty rammer and a bounty turbo that I swap around what I'm marking. So what I would recommend if like you're trying to mark it, or how I had it set up for marking, is bounty rammer, bounty turbo in the this slot, and then a vert stabs in a firepower slot. Then if you don't have bounty equipment, what I'd recommend is gun rammer, vert stabs, and then go turbo but in a mobility slot, because I feel like the turbo is more important than the vert stabs to be slightly more boosted. So that's what I recommend. But obviously if you're using bounty turbo, you don't get the benefit of the boosted slots. Then you want to swap out the vert stabs into the boosted slot for firepower. 100% would recommend. And then for my alternate setup, I've got hardening in the survivability slot, vert stabs, and rammer. You could always on this as well go rammer, turbo, hardening. I was kind of only using it for like Himmels, Ensk, Ruinberg, stuff like that, where you don't really have to drive that far, and you're pretty much in like a static engagement the entire time. So yeah, I didn't really see the point of running turbo on this, but this gives you up to 2,500 HP in the improved slot, which is very, very nice. Other options you could have, I mean, you could always go vents. If you wanted to, in this setup, you could probably, if you didn't want to build quite so heavily into the stabilization of the gun, you could swap out for vert stabs for vents, and again that would be in a boosted slot, so that would be quite nice. You could go rotation if you wanted to. If you really wanted to play more backline, you could possibly go aiming, although I definitely probably wouldn't recommend that at all. Hardening, yeah, not a bad idea. Maybe, I mean, I feel like you would be wasted with optics, because even like with my build, which is not built into view range at all, granted I've got situational awareness and recon, but like I've got 458 meters view range, so well over 445 with proven consumable, so yeah, I won't worry too much. Those are probably the setups I recommend. Consumables wise, you can take a case of cola, you can take premium consumable, it's absolutely fine. I would always recommend never go full heat. Like this is my like kind of in inverted commas premium setup. But I still have AP rounds again for shooting like the side of like E100s, things like that, just because if you fire heat they just get absorbed so easily into spaced armor and stuff. It's definitely not worth. Wow, the marks have gone down. That's upsetting. Tried so hard to get to like 4,350 and now it's below 4,300. Feels sad, man. Field mods wise, I've gone on the first one, I've gone left, maintaining speed while crossing all terrain types. It's just better than hull traverse and suspension durability, because this actually increases hull traverse because you retain speed when crossing, so it doesn't matter. Aim circle over aim speed. Your aim time, even with this eating into it, is still 1.85 seconds. Like if you were to go with the other one, 1.67, it's not massively better, and it's definitely not worth. You're so much better going with the improved aiming. It gets your accuracy down to 0.3. Better view range. No point in going for the stun duration. Like, if you get stunned, you get stunned. You put it back in with your first aid kit. If you don't, then you're stunned anyway. Like, it's literally only makes 1 or 2 seconds different. It's not really worth it. For this one, I didn't actually go with any of these. I would probably, if you're like, I absolutely really want one of them, I would probably say go with the reverse speed. Gun traverse speed, 35 It's nice. You could probably definitely go with the reverse speed, takes you up to 17. I would not recommend going with the gun traverse speed, because you don't need that high gun traverse speed, and that takes your reverse speed down to 13, which is then starting to become a real issue. Like, that's bad if you're trying to get away from anything. So probably would recommend this one, but personally I just chose not to go for either. And then I've gone for lightweight hull as well for better dispersion, again building into that whole firing on the move kind of thing. And I did hit some really wicked shells on the move in this thing, like really good. So yeah, that is my setup for the E5. Hopefully you guys have found this video useful in any way, shape or form, or maybe just enjoyed listening to me talking shit. Or just laughing at me for talking the wrong shit, because you think that you can set things up better than me, which, not gonna lie, you probably can, but that's besides the point. You're watching one of my videos, and you've got all the way to the end, so ha ha ha, joke's on you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please subscribe, like, all of that standard YouTuber crap. I'm not even gonna say anything about my YouTube schedule. It's been shit. I know it's been shit. It's summer. I'm busiest at work. I'm sorry. Come watch my streams. Other than that, apologies. And yeah, other than that, thank you all so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.